I don't know if we completed that first part. I've got a little asterisk in there saying that that's where we stopped at Hebrews 3:4. We were looking at that. Is that what?
I have that. I don't know if I think we finished Hebrews. I think we were about to look at Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know where the asterisk applied to, but I knew that was that was the area we stopped. I read that in Deuteronomy, well, this morning actually, and it's a very good one. Let's see, Deuteronomy 6. Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And I think that one is quite appropriate here. This is God's the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whither you go to possess it. Mm-hmm. So Moses is giving these things of what God's told him. He's telling the people. I have another place here in Deuteronomy, just back a page or two, that also applies to this, and that's Deuteronomy 4:35. Unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God. There is none else beside him. So I thought that would apply to this also. I have that down in my notes on, but it's none else besides God. Mm-hmm. There is no other God. I mean, there are those idols that are called gods, and even the Romans of Jesus' day were called gods. The Roman leaders, you better call them by the highest esteem you can give them, or it might be your neck. But there is but one God. And any comments on either of these here in Deuteronomy?
Just one. If you keep going down in that passage in Deuteronomy 4, verse 39 says, Know therefore this day and consider it in thy heart that the Lord, he is God in heaven above, and upon earth beneath there is none else.
Yes.
Just adding to that.
I have a note here on that verse that refers to Joshua 2:31.
Which verse did you say?
2:31.
There is no 2:31.
No. What have I got then? Joshua, 2:11. Pardon me. What? I don't know where I got a 3 in there. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. Mm-hmm. And let's put this in context here. This is where the spies went in, even to Jericho. They went to Rahab's house, and she protected them. And this was her words. And she said unto the men, in verse 9, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you, when ye came out of Egypt, and that ye did what ye did unto the kings of the Amorites, that were on the other side Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did it there remain any more courage in any man, because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God, in heaven above and in earth beneath. So this is this woman, Rahab, and so it says that she was a harlot. A harlot in that day meant an innkeeper that provided for the needs of travelers, whatever those needs might be. But I think perhaps that's not one we want to include here, because this isn't, but this tells about the fear that even the people of the nations around had concerning God and the people that he led.
Right.
But I think that isn't one, that was just a note that I had there on Deuteronomy 4:39.
Do we know what the Greek translation of that fear is? I thought it was more of like an awesomeness or than it was a trembling fear. It was more of a...
In which case,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
probably,
that's what
I don't know, they're
guess.
probably,
because they use that fear a lot. Yeah.
there are probably 2 or 3 different words that are translated as, from the Greek for fear.
Yeah.
I have the ability to look it up on the phone after Sunday school.
Oh no, that's fine. I just was wondering if I was a little bit off on that. I didn't know.
I can look up the exact word that's used there and give you the translation of it.
I was wondering there on Deuteronomy 6:4, when it says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And you were telling me about the names of God. What is this where it says Lord, and where it says, you've got the reference there,
Yeah.
I believe.
So God that's used as Elohim. It's the word just for God. Just like so other people would use Elohim talking about their God. So it's saying that, and then Lord, all capital, is Yahweh, Jehovah. So using his.
Well, we don't have either of them here. That is one Lord, unless, well, yes, they are capitalized. But the L is in larger print than.
Yeah, so the fact that Lord is all capitalized, it's Jehovah, Yahweh, yeah. And then if it was just a capital L with a lower case the rest of the way, it would be Adonai, someone of higher rank or lordship status. So it's talking about Yahweh is our God, referring to just a God, but he's our God.
Yeah, but
Lord is one.
Where it says the Lord our God is one Lord. And both the places where it says Lord, it has the large L, but the smaller print letters after that are still capitalized. They're capital letters.
Yeah, so it's referring to Yahweh.
That's Yahweh.
Yeah, so if it wasn't, it would be talking about Odaniah. But since they're all
Okay.
capitalized, it's Yahweh.
Talking about what?
Whatever it's with them.
Adonai?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that clears something up for me. Because I wanted to, they're using it, well, they use the word Lord 3 times in there, and God 1 time. So, that's interesting. But it's referring to Yahweh. Where he said that is his name.
We mentioned 435. Did we want to? Do we like 435 more than 6:4, or are we just pointing out another passage?
Right.
Or?
Well, I don't know. I just thought it fit in there.
Yeah. So you just wasn't sure if we were just talking about how it fit, or if we wanted to replace it
Right.
with 6:4. Or...
I'll leave that up to the congregation.
I don't know about everyone else, but I kind of like 435 better.
I would really replace 6:4 with it,
Okay, then
but
I don't think we
could
need.
add it.
I personally don't think we need both. So I think if we don't want to replace 6:4, then just leave it. I just want to clarify.
Well, let's look at what we're trying to support here. It says there is one and only one true God, an infinite, intelligent spirit whose name is Jehovah, the maker and supreme ruler of heaven and earth. You know, 435 fits that quite well, but
It wouldn't be that hard just to put that right behind the
Maybe.
Deuteronomy.
just put the 2 of them together there.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt to just put that right behind it.
So we're adding 435 to Deuteronomy 6:4. Any comment on any of that before we move on?
I think we got it for that one because we're just trying to show that he's God and he's one.
Okay. Then let's look at that last verse there, Jeremiah 10:10. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nation shall not be able to abide his indignation. And I have a interesting note there on the everlasting King is the King of eternity, was the note that I have. And maybe that, it's interesting that is the note in there, because there's only one eternity and there's only one king in eternity, and he's the only one.
That's right.
I don't know if we need that in our notes here, but it's an interesting thing that's what they have that as an interpretation of what that says. The King, an everlasting King, not just any everlasting King, but he's the King of eternity.
Well, actually, the fact that he is king of eternity, the only way you could be king of eternity is if you were always alive.
Yes.
As in from eternity past through eternity future. I mean, there's only one that can do that.
Absolutely.
Nobody else can because everybody else dies at least once.
Yeah, but I think just the way it's said, that impresses me,
Yeah.
when it says the King of eternity.
So it's establishing the one who rules over everything that is
Yes.
or was or will be.
Any comment on this here in Jeremiah? I think that one very definitely says what we're trying to say here. I had, let's see, there it is. I have 1 Corinthians 8:6. And but unto us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. So it speaks to the lordship of God the Father and of Jesus also.
Yeah.
And that might, in the minds of many people, tie the fact together of Jesus' deity as the Son of the ever-living, everlasting God. I don't know how I got that reference. I just have it written down here in my notes. So whether I saw it or somebody else saw it and I wrote it down, but I think it fits quite well. Any comment on either of these here? I think we established Jeremiah 10:10, and I don't know if we want to add this or not, or whether we want to put it in some other place where it refers to Jesus.
I like it, maybe even at least add somewhere, because it has a comparison, and all they change is one little word, but it says God the Father, of whom are all things, and then it says about Jesus, by whom are all things. So, as in the origin of all things is in the Father, but the means by which all things came about is Jesus. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it has a usefulness here to distinguish who's who, and I know that we've separated out Jesus separately from God the Father, but this is, I'd like to add that one in, because simply it covers the difference between the persons in the Godhead, and we're on God as in including, in a sense, Jesus and the Holy Spirit.
Okay. Sierra?
Later in the True God section, on number 3, the last point that's made, it says executing distinct but harmonious offices in the great works of redemption.
Yeah,
Is that a better
Yes.
fit for that?
I agree with
that's a
you.
good place, you're right.
Okay.
I think that's probably where we ought to put that in. I don't have my pen here. Oh, there's one up here.
There was. Got it hiding in there.
That one's been there, and I've borrowed it several times and put it back.
I'm sorry, my wife borrows all of my pens and pencils, so I borrowed one of hers, and
I can't keep
it's been up
pens
there.
on my desk ever.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go. Whether I take them off and leave them in a jacket pocket or whatever, but they tend to disappear.
I think it's universal.
It's just a bin problem.
You mean I'm not the only one
You're
that
not
has
the
that
only
problem?
It just
Joe?
depends
Me too.
on who.
You have it too, huh?
Yeah, every time I wanna use a pen, I can't find it, not on the desk, not on the table.
You know, for you and I, maybe that's just something else.
Yeah.
What's that disease? OLD?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna put narrow that's a good catch, C.R. I think you're right in that. And where it belongs.
So what verse are we adding to that one down there?
First Corinthians 8:6.
1 Corinthians 8:6. And that will go down to part 3 of the true God. All right. Okay. We believe that God is inexpressibly glorious in holiness and worthy of all possible honor, confidence, and love. Okay, I looked at that and one of, maybe it was Exodus. I think it was Exodus. Is that 15 or 11? I've got a pen mark through
15:11 is what I got.
15:11, yeah.
15:11. Okay. Okay, Exodus.
I could read it. There it says,
Okay.
"Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders?"
Okay,
So pretty much what it says.
that fits. Fif- Okay, this is part of the Song of Moses, I think. Yes, verse 15, or chapter 15, verse 1 says, "Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea." So this is the song of Moses and the children of Israel as they were protected by God. And so in case you don't know what we're doing, we are going through our articles of faith in the class. Do you have a copy of that?
I have an extra copy right here.
Do you have an extra copy for her? We're glad to see you, by the way. And we are in section 2 right now. We've kind of jumped around a little bit. And we are in section 2, the true God. And we are on article 2. And what do we think there about that one in Exodus? That one says it. There's another one down further. I'm not. They use the inexpressibly glorious in one of these verses that I read. I don't know if it's that one. Worthy of all possible honor, confidence, and love. And any comment on that there in Exodus?
Fits well.
Okay. Let's look at Mark 12:30. "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment." And these are the words of Jesus in red in my Bible. And I can't imagine any better authority. And this is a commandment. Maybe we want to even put in 29. This is, Jesus says, one of the scribes came to, and having heard them reasoning together and perceiving that he had answered them well, asked him, which is the first commandment of all? So Jesus was asked that question, and this was his answer. The first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. So he put those two together, but the commandment that he gives here is the one we want, that first one, the very first commandment. Andy?
Is the word obedience in that description that we're trying to match here?
Let's see.
He's worthy
He
of
is
all
worthy
things.
of all possible honor, confidence, and love.
I think if it's not in there, we should put obedience.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that, I think,
I think
That
that's a
is
good
that.
idea, yeah.
absolutely.
If you love me, keep my commandments.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that when Jesus was asked for just the greatest of all the commandments, it was singular. The person asking meant just one. However, Jesus went to deliberately to express that you can't do the one without the other, and it's not complete without. The obedience part is the love your neighbor as yourself, that all the rest of the commandments were built on. So I think we need to add obedience and maybe add that verse too, because really it's a unit. The way Jesus saw it, it's a unit. You
Well,
can't
it's
serve
already,
God. You can't
the-
love
right.
and serve God without the obedience, which requires loving your neighbors yourself.
because that is God's command. That is God's will expressed by Jesus as he came here to the earth.
Yeah.
God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So it is the will of the Father, but it was expressed and stated by Jesus as he walked here on the earth.
And also, maybe skipping ahead just a touch. But we should, or we could anyways, add Isaiah 6, 1 through 3 to the roster, and Revelation 5, 12 through 14.
Well, we're going to get to Revelation 4:11. Maybe we'll look at that. We keep what was the one in Revelation 5? What?
5, 12 through 14. Just in case, I know we're running up toward the end of it, and I know we want to dwell on the obedience for a couple more minutes.
Okay. Well, I'll just
Just as
put
future
that
note.
in there. So this one in Mark 12:30, and is that certainly that one fits, and it's the words of Jesus.
So to clarify, because Andy wanted to add a verse, did she want to add Mark 12:30 and then go through 31? Is that the verse she
Yes.
wanted to add?
Yes. And I'm adding the word obedience to the things he's worthy
Yeah.
of.
I got
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And then just add that verse 31 also.
Yeah.
With that, along with that obedience. I think that's a very good addition. Any comment on any of this before we?
Yeah, what time do we eat?
Well, it's time to quit right now. I think.
I can smell it right now.
But Tony, you have that bell still here?
Okay. So we'll
All right.
Start right after that one.
Right after that one, and we'll go to part 3, so I'll put my asterisk there for next week.
That ham being on worm should be okay, Mom?
Yeah.